Okay, just as a little bit of a review, I wanted to just do a few examples from section 6.1. So this is review, operations on functions. I thought it would be a good idea to kind of go over that before I have you do your assignment. So to evaluate f plus g of x, we're just adding these together. So we're going to have 3x plus 1 plus 2x minus 3, and you're just going to combine like terms. So when you do that, you get 5x minus 2. So pay attention to the signs there. When you are subtracting, you're going to have 3x plus 1 minus 2x minus 3. So the common mistake on this is forgetting to distribute the negative sign. So we get 3x plus 1 minus 2x. This is going to change to a plus 3. So then our answer is just x plus 4 when we get our answer. For multiplication, we're going to have 3x plus 1 times 2x minus 3. You are multiplying binomials here, so you can FOIL that. We'll get 6x squared, or you can put it in a box, minus 9x for the outside, plus 2x for the inside, and then a minus 3. So you're really just distributing when you do that. So then we get 6x squared minus 7x minus 3. And again, remember, you can put that in a box and multiply it out. This would be your answer. And then for division, we're just going to take 3x plus 1 divided by 2x minus 3. You do not have to work out the division for this. However, keep in mind that when you have, this is a rational function now, and you can't divide by 0. So you have to think about what makes the denominator 0. So if we have 2x minus 3 equals 0 and solve for x, so add 3, divide by 2, that's the value we have to exclude. So we say x is not equal to 3/2. So that's part of your answer. So you would have to include that as part of your answer, the exclusion. All right, so this next example, and these problems are coming off of the worksheet that I posted that you probably won't be doing as a worksheet because you'll just be copying the problems down. You're going to be doing the odds, so I just picked out some of the evens to do. So on this one, we're asked to find f of g and g of f. So remember, this is called composition of functions. And that's when you're putting one function inside of the other. So what we're going to do on that, so we're going to start by coming up with f of g of x. Now remember, f of g is the same as, you can think of it like this when you're doing that. So we're putting g inside of f. So the g is what we're going to start with. So I start with this negative 3. The negative 3 goes to a 1. So then I have to look up here in f, and I see what the 1 goes to. The 1 goes to a 2. So then negative 3 goes to 2. Again, I'm starting with the function g, and I'm starting with the domain value. Negative 3 goes to 1, and then I find the 1 in my f function, and 1 goes to 2. So I take what I started with, the negative 3, and what I ended with. The 1 doesn't get used in my answer. So then I'm going to go to the next domain value in g, and it's a 2. 2 goes to 0. 0 goes to negative 3. So I started with the 2 and I ended with the negative 3. And that would be f of g. To get g of f, we're going to start with f instead. So I start with a 0. 0 goes to negative 3 and negative 3 goes to 1. So 0 goes to 1. Then I go to the 1. 1 goes to 2 and 2 goes to 0. So 1 goes to 0, okay, because that's what I started with, that's what I ended with. And then for the last one, 2 goes to 2, and 2 goes to 0. So I don't need to list that one. Oh wait, no, sorry, we started with a 2, didn't we? So we have a 2, 2 goes to 2, and 2 goes to 0. So we end up with those 3 ordered pairs. Okay, for the next one, and notice the notation says find g of h of x. It's perfectly fine if you want to write it like this. you know that I like it that way because it's kind of a illustrates how h of x is inside of g of x. So if we're going to start by finding g of h of x, that means I'm putting h of x inside where the x is for g. So I have a negative 3, and instead of writing down x, I'm going to write 4x minus 1. And then I can just distribute that and get negative 12x plus 3. And if I go the other way, and I have h of g of x, that means I'm taking g of x and putting it inside of h. So I'm going to have 4 times negative 3x minus 1. So that gives me negative 12x. And I'm not distributing it because the negative 1 is not inside the parentheses, so it's still going to be a minus 1. Okay, next one. So we've got on this one, if we need to find g of h of x, oops. Okay, so on this next one, to find g of h of x, we're putting h of x inside of g of x. So we're going to have, instead of an x, we're going to have 2x squared minus 3, and then a plus 2. So I can just combine like terms. I get 2x squared minus 1. So that's the easy way. Going the other way, if we have h of g of x, we're putting g of x inside of h of x. So we have a 2, and instead of an x, I have x plus 2, and that's quantity squared minus 3. Now, common mistake. People tell me this is x squared plus 4, and that would be wrong. Remember, x plus 2 quantity squared means x plus 2 times x plus 2. You can put that in a box, or FOIL it, or use the shortcut if you know what that is. You square the first term. You multiply, you get 2x and double, and then you square the last term. So that's what you get when you multiply the binomial. So you have to do that first. Then next you have to distribute the 2. And then the last thing you do is combine the like terms. So be careful on those. Okay, and on this one, this time we have numbers that we're going to fill in. So to find h of f of 5, we're going to start with the inside function, which is f of 5. So we're going to evaluate, to get f of 5, we're going to do 3 times 5, which is 15. So now we plug a 15 in here where the f of 5 is. So we have to evaluate h of 15, which is 15 squared minus 1. And if you check 15 squared on your calculator, you get 225 minus 1 is 224. So that would be that answer. And on the next one, we have f of h of g of 1. Now, you might prefer to write it like this, f of h of g of 1. And I like to make my parentheses different sizes. So you're going to start with the inside function. You're going to evaluate g of 1 first. So when you do, you get 1 plus 4 is 5. So now that you've got this, you know this is 5, then you go to the next function and you're going to evaluate h of 5. So we get 5 squared minus 1, I'm putting it in right here, and I get 24. And then you go to the outermost function and evaluate f of 24. So we get 3 times 24, since that's what the function tells me to do, and I get 72, and that is my actual answer. So hopefully that was enough to kind of refresh your mind on what you need to do. and you have your assignment, please write legibly so I can see that. It actually would help me if you could circle your answers to help me find your answers easily. If you have any questions about how to submit your assignment online, then you can send me a message. I gave you instructions on your assignment, so hopefully we'll get better at this, and that this will work fine.